After Dark Stories, Episode 6. True Crime. The night New Orleans played jazz for a killer. In March 1919, a serial killer wrote a letter to the newspapers of New Orleans. Not a confession, not a demand, an invitation. He said he would visit the city again on the night of March 19th, and that he would kill. But he offered a deal. Any household where a jazz band was playing at 15 minutes past midnight would be spared. Every other home was fair game. The city had a choice: ignore a madman or dance. New Orleans danced. Had been terrorizing the city since May 1918. His method was deliberate and brutal. He would chisel out a panel from a back door, slip inside in the dark, and attack victims with an axe, often their own. He targeted Italian grocery store owners almost exclusively, though no one ever determined why. Joseph Maggio and his wife were the first confirmed victims. They were found in their bed. The axe was left in the bathroom, cleaned. The killer was gone before anyone knew he had been there. Over the following months, more attacks came. Louis Basuma, Anna Schneider, 8 months pregnant. She survived and delivered her child. Joseph Romano, beaten so severely his nieces watched him stagger into the hallway before he collapsed. One detail emerged that baffled investigators. In nearly every case, a door panel had been removed with precision. No forced entry, no sound. Just an absence where a door had been whole. The newspapers stoked the city's fear. Then, on March 13, 1919, a letter arrived. It was published in full. The writer claimed to be the Axeman and something more. He called himself a demon from the hottest hell. He said he was not human. He said he had left a number of people dead and would leave more. And then came the terms. On the night of March 19th, St. Joseph's night, he would pass through New Orleans. Anyone whose home rang with the sound of jazz would not be touched. The rest, he said, were not so fortunate. The letter closed with a postscript that might have been mocking or might have been sincere. I am very fond of jazz music. New Orleans, a city that had already buried its dead, that had been locking its doors and boarding its windows, decided to believe him. Dance halls filled beyond capacity. Musicians played through the night. Private homes threw parties, windows thrown open so the sound could pour into the street. Bands played on porches. Gramophones ran until they overheated. A composer named Joseph de Villa even released a song called The Mysterious Axeman's Jazz, written specifically for that night. At 15 minutes past midnight, the streets were loud with horns and drums and laughter that was only half genuine. No one was killed that night. Whether the Axeman kept his word, or whether no attack had ever been planned, or whether the letter was written by someone other than the killer entirely, no one knows. Because the Axeman was never caught, never identified. The attacks continued into late 1919, with the last confirmed victim being Mike Pepitone in October of that year. And then they stopped. No arrest, no confession, no body. Just silence, and a city left to wonder who had made them dance. A killer who loved jazz enough to spare the city for one night. A mass psychology experiment conducted at knife point. A letter that remains, over 100 years later, unattributed. Here is the question I want you to sit with. Do you think the letter was genuinely from the killer, or was it written by someone else, exploiting the city's fear? Leave your answer below. I read every one.